Say hi, Tucker. Quit eating mommy's flowers and say hi to everybody. Hey, what's up, guys? So just a real quick video here. The very first recall that I have noticed is now out on this Jeep Gladiator. Now, I don't know for sure if mine is included yet or not. I tried to check my VIN, but I didn't find any information yet, and someone said that maybe they're just slow to update. So let me show you what the issue is on this recall. Okay, for some reason, Jeep decided on this truck to use a carrier bearing. You may hear this called different things. In the recall, FCA is referring to it as a monoblock. I've always heard it called a carrier bearing, but anyway, you've got a two-piece rear drive shaft here with a carrier bearing, and apparently a lot of the Gladiators, quit it, Tucker, quit trying to lick me, Tucker. Anyway, a lot of the Gladiators left the factory without the proper grease in here. So that's not good. So when I was inspecting this, it looks like it's a sealed unit. I don't see any grease fittings or anything on here. So I guess it's a sealed unit that you're supposed to replace when it wears out. And I'm not really sure exactly how you would go about checking it. Now, the funny thing about it is when they first revealed this truck to the public at the end of 2018, and when I noticed that it had a carrier bearing in it, the first thing I remember saying was, why did they do that? Obviously, it's not a length issue, because even some full-size trucks, like the Super Crew F-150 that I had, you know, they have one-piece drive shafts. So it wasn't necessary for a length, from a length standpoint. Also, if you look at that drive shaft, there's no angle there. It's perfectly straight. So, I mean, they could have easily used a one-piece shaft and they wouldn't have had this issue. I have no idea what that's all about. Kind of frustrating. And my guess is in the future, one-piece drive shafts are going to be really nice and popular upgrades for these trucks as these things get more and more miles on them. But anyway, there's the culprit right there, the monoblock as they call it, responsible for the first recall on the Jeep Gladiator. So if you want to know if your truck is included in the recall, the best thing to do is to go to your dealership, give them your VIN number, because they will have the earliest information. Now, from what I've been told, this recall covers Gladiators built up to June the 25th. Like if you look at your door jamb sticker, you can see the month, day, and hour that your Jeep was built. Like in this case, mine was built on June the 6th, the 14th hour of the day, which is 2 p.m. So this one fits the date range, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's recalled. So I'm going to have to take my VIN and go out to the dealer and see what the deal is. But I just wanted to give you guys a heads up on that. You might want to check on it. And the symptoms would be clunking. If you hear a clunk, let's say you back out of the driveway, put it in drive, and it clunks. That would be a telltale sign that you might have this issue. Okay, so let's switch gears for a second and revisit the old topic of which trim level would be best for you. The reason I thought about this again is because of the other night when I hung this extra 150 pounds of weight off the front of the Jeep. I thought, you know, all of this stuff that you put on the Jeep subtracts from your payload capacity, right? So this is getting a little bit interesting, and I think it's a good topic to revisit briefly. So once again, when you're shopping for these trucks, when you're shopping for any truck, you know, obviously the idea is you want to haul and tow things, right? So a number that's critical is your payload capacity. Always check the door jamb sticker and see what the payload capacity on the truck is. And you can see mine is 1,511 pounds. Now, why is that important? Well, lots of reasons actually, but for the purpose that we're talking about here today, let's say that you're going to add a whole bunch of accessories and stuff to your truck. All right, this bumper and winch is an additional 150 pounds when you subtract out the weight that we took off the vehicle. I added some step rails that was a total of about 40 pounds. I've got a lightweight bed cover back there, a spray-in bed liner, auxiliary lighting. You know, all these things add up. And, you know, when I total all this weight up, I get about 225 pounds. Now, that is including the weight of the larger spare, but I'm not including the extra weight of the tires that are on the Jeep. I'm just talking about stuff that's sprung weight, not unsprung weight. Anything that the suspension itself is carrying subtracts from your payload capacity. So just the very mild stuff I've done to this truck, and this is nowhere near what a lot of guys do to their trucks, but just this mild build right here added over 200 pounds of weight to the truck. So if you subtract that out from my payload, which is obviously 1511, then you get down around 1,300 pounds of payload left, which is still pretty respectable. Now let's say you went and you bought an Overland model. The Overland that I test drove had a payload capacity on the sticker of 1,053 pounds. So if you did this same mild build on an Overland, you would only be left with a little bit over 800 pounds of payload capacity. That's pretty miserable, guys. I mean, at 800 pounds of payload, my family of 5 would eat that whole thing up. You know, we've got 2 boys in college and 1 in middle school. If all 3 of our boys and my wife and I get in this truck, that's 800 pounds right there. So on the Overland model, if I did this build on it, when my whole family got in the truck, legally, I wouldn't be able to put anything in the bed. I wouldn't be able to hook any trailer to it at all. I mean, it's pretty significant. And that's the reason why I keep saying all these guys that are doing these Overland builds, and I'm not talking about the trim level, I'm talking about, you know, an Overland lifestyle truck. You're going to go out and do overlanding. Okay, if you're building one of those trucks, payload should be critical to you. And if it is, it should be. I don't know why you would go with anything other than this max tow package. I mean, it's just a game changer. So again, if you're looking at these, you're shopping them, you're already thinking in your mind what you're going to do with the truck, I strongly recommend that you pay attention to your payload number and kind of add up what you think you might do to the truck and see if it's going to work out for you, because in a lot of cases, I guarantee you there's a lot of guys out there who bought Overland and Rubicon models and they have already legally overloaded their trucks. So just FYI, I know this topic has been beat to death, but it really is a big difference. When you add that extra 400 or 500 pounds of payload to this particular trim level, it makes a huge difference. It opens up so many doors that you can, you know, things you can do with and for and use the truck for, you know, in the future. So anyhow, just wanted to revisit that topic because I got to thinking about that again when I hung all this weight off of here. Of course, this one has the heavier duty suspension, and so it didn't sag a whole lot, but I've noticed that it still rides pretty good and it's not going to be too big of a deal. I think I already mentioned this in a prior video, but these KO2s actually have 2-ply sidewalls. I was under the impression that all of the KO2s had 3-ply sidewalls, like that was just a characteristic of this particular tire, but that's not the case. If you get these Load Range C versions, which come off the Rubicon, the JL Rubicons, use these. They're 2-ply sidewalls, so you have to go up to the LTE 10-ply rated to get the 3-ply sidewalls. I guess, you know, you live and learn. I didn't know that. I know it now. It's not a big deal. You know, I doubt I'll have issues, but if I ever do, I'll just replace them, you know, with a heavier duty version. No biggie. So tomorrow's project is going to be to give this car a little love. I need to clean this thing up. It's absolutely filthy, and we're going to get it down to a car show. But I swear, every time I drive this thing, it gets torn up. I heard something go gunk gunk today, and when I looked at my door, look at that. Something went all the way down through the clear and through the color and left 3 spots on the door here. Man, that's so frustrating. Seems like that happens every time I drive this thing, but it's just covered in gravel dust, so I got to get it cleaned up. And we're going to be giving this thing a little bit more love next week too, because I'm finally going to get around to doing some more exhaust work on this, and we got to save some pennies for forced induction too, because I can't let my friends keep wearing me out all the time. Hey Kat, what's up? So if you guys remember, back in June, I think it was, right before I came and took delivery of this truck, we took the JL Wrangler out on its last trip with us. We went out to the land between the lakes, went to Turkey Bay off-highway vehicle area, camped. It was beautiful. The weather was absolutely perfect. We did a little bit of four-wheeling and some trail riding in the Wrangler. one last time before I turned it in for this Gladiator when I got back home. So I'm planning on the weekend of the 27th. We're planning on going back to LBL again. We're going to take the Gladiator this time, and we might hit a few trails and see how it does. Might give it a shakeout run, you know, on some real trails. So looks like, of course, that's a couple of weeks away, but it looks like the weather's going to be cooler. It's been super hot. We've been setting records for heat this week, and I really hope it cools off before we go camping. Looks like it's going to, so it should be a pretty good weekend. But that's what's coming up next. Hopefully you'll get to see this truck finally out on some real trails. All right, guys, I'm going to get off here for the night. We'll talk to you later.